Question. We've the Irish Sign Language interpreters here. Why are they here? Who do you think they're here for? For me? Well, right, they are, yeah. But most of all, they're for you. They're for you to understand my language and to fit in with me. I sign, and the interpreter translates into spoken English for you. Let me just tell you a little story. I was born deaf. The doctors identified me as deaf at 6 months old. From that point on in my life, the perception of me being deaf was bad news. My parents, the information, the support they needed was minimal. When I initially went to a local hearing play school, I can remember sitting with a group and 2 teachers sitting in the round with us. They were singing a song, a nursery rhyme. The children sang with their voices. What do you think I did? Nothing. I just sat there, lost, not knowing or understanding what was going on. The children and the teachers continued to sing their song. Then they started to do actions with the song and got down on the ground and continued singing. What did I do? I still sat there doing nothing, alone, looking at the children on the ground. I eventually tapped at the shoulder of a boy and said, "Hey, sit with me," gestured to him to sit with me. The boy came and sat beside me. That is a real sign of how lonely I was, how isolated I was, that I gestured and looked for someone to sit with me so he would be like me and I would feel relieved. Life went on. I went to the local state hearing school for hearing children. I lasted there about a year. It wasn't suitable for me. My parents made a really difficult decision then to send me to Dublin to a deaf school, a boarding school. I remember the first day. I remember it so well. I remember going into a room and the girls were sitting around colouring. Those girls are still my friends today. As they sat there colouring, I remember one of them saying, "Hey, come over here," for me to be included. I toddled over, I sat in with them, and they were trying to explain to me what to do, what they were doing with the colouring. And from that moment, I cannot actually remember ever actually acquiring or learning Irish Sign Language. I don't remember if they taught me or I just picked it up from them or how quickly I became fluent in ISL, but it matched my needs. And for the first time in 5 years and 9 months of my life, I was deprived of language. So Irish Sign Language, we call it ISL. It's a language. It's the same as all other languages around the world. Spoken languages such as French, Spanish, English, German, and each of those countries have their own signed languages. ISL is unique to Ireland and the deaf community. It's their preferred language. Did you know that Irish Sign Language has already been recognised as a third language of Ireland since the 17th of December in 2017? I don't know if you knew that. I have another story. But first, I want you to imagine something with me. Imagine a world just like here in Ireland, where everybody can sign. Walking down the street, going into a bank, a shop, where everybody had ability to sign, deaf and hearing. Imagine if it was like that all around the world, if each country was like that. Can you imagine it? I have another story. Just about 3 weeks ago, I was at a tram line stop and a woman came along. I could see by her body language that she was lost. She came towards me and spoke to me. So I tried to lip read what she was saying. But just so you know, lip reading is a very difficult skill, and about 90% of it is guesswork. So I tried to lip read her. She said something like, "Is this," and something other, "stop." So she was asking me if she was at the right stop. That's what I guessed. So I said, "Hold on a second." I took out my phone and I typed in, "How can I help you?" And I showed her my phone. She took the phone and she typed back to me. So I thought, oh great, breakthrough in communication, I'll be able to help this person. She gave me the phone back, but she walked away and spoke to someone else. And when I looked at my phone, do you know what she'd said? "It's okay." It's not. It's not okay. No, I felt humiliated. She treated me like a second-class citizen. It's not okay. Inclusion is everyone's responsibility. Inclusion is everyone's responsibility. So think about it. Irish Sign Language could be part of all educational schools' curriculum as a subject. Just like you learn Irish or French or whatever language your school provides, Irish Sign Language could be provided. It's an official language of Ireland. It could be made part of education so that when you are in a class, you could be learning ISL. And that means that in the future, we'd have a better society where more people know sign language and communicate with deaf people easier. So I'd like to invite you now to learn how to introduce yourself or meet a deaf person. There's lots of tips, but I've just picked 3. First one is about communication. There are different ways to communicate. You could write something down on a piece of paper. You could use your phone like I did and type out a message. Technology is there. It's there for everyone, so use it. The deaf person might try to lip read you, but just speak normally and speak at a normal pace. My pet peeve for me and many others in the deaf community is when a hearing person goes like this. "Hello, how are you?" That's not helpful. Just speak at a normal pace. And make sure you understand each other. Make the effort, be flexible, and it'll work out perfectly fine. Secondly, learn ISL. If you learn ISL, you become fluent in another language. It could become your 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th language. It'd be cool, right? You could be my friend, you could communicate with me and other deaf people you meet. And thirdly, I just want to talk about terminology in reference to deaf people. What's the best label to give a person who's deaf? Just say deaf. Or else perhaps hard of hearing, but don't say hearing impaired. Don't say hearing disability. Don't say hearing difficulty. And don't say deaf and dumb. Just please say deaf or hard of hearing. I'm just wondering, perhaps some of you students here might be wondering in the future, what'll I be when I leave school? Why not study ISL and become an interpreter, like the interpreters here in the room? They are professional interpreters. To learn how to become an interpreter, you would go to the Centre for Deaf Studies in Trinity College. It's a 4-year degree programme. Perhaps some of you might become interested to learn a language and become an interpreter. And I'd like to remind you, inclusion is everyone's responsibility. I'm Joanne Chester, and I'm not just deaf. And I'd just like to do something else. I'd like to teach you a couple of signs. Just something simple. Something you could use every day. I'm going to sign, how are you? So perhaps you might try and copy what I'm showing you now. How? You. Again, let's see it. Everyone, how are you? That would make such a difference to deaf people on a daily basis if you sign that. Thank you.